Happy Thanksgiving, friends. So, whenever we're making the preaching schedule, I always agree to preach on Thanksgiving Sabbath because Thanksgiving is my favorite thing. I love gratitude more than the local church budget. And it's not because my life has been easy. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't trade. And it's not because I don't have things that if I could choose to not experience them, I would make that choice. It's not because of that. It's because actively practicing gratitude has transformed my life. But at this point, I have preached 3 gratitude sermons already. So this year, instead of talking to you for 30 minutes, I'm going to invite you into what my gratitude practice looks like and talk about how my life was transformed. So, it was October 2017, and I was called to be a pastor in the Maritime Conference. Thank you. I was so excited because it felt like affirmation after rejection and rejection and rejection again. But I had never lived on my own before, much less in a province that I'd never been to. The only thing I knew about PEI was potatoes and Anne of Green Gables. I didn't even own a potato peeler, and I felt very ill-equipped for life, much less ministry. I would be the pastor of the whole province. Me. And for some reason, they're like, yeah, you can do it. Here, all of this responsibility and adulthood at the same time. Go. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go because I can do it. And I'm going to pray and it'll be fine. And I'm still here. So it was fine. I had a couple weeks to pack up everything that I owned in the world, which was 4 duffel bags of clothes and a potato peeler that one of my church members had bought me because I was legitimately stressed. I was like, they eat potatoes and I can't peel them. What are we going to do? And I took my 4 duffel bags and I got on a plane to Moncton. When in Moncton, I would be there for a couple of days to sign my contract and buy a car and drive this car to Prince Edward Island to find an apartment that I still did not have yet because all I owned was 4 duffel bags of clothes and a potato peeler. So I prayed because it was the only thing I knew how to do. Actually, before I left, I was trying to budget, and it wasn't making sense. And I was crying to my mom about adulthood, and she's like, just stop. Just stop and pray, and you'll be fine. And I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't make sense. That's not what I learned in school, but I'll try it. And I prayed because my budget wasn't making sense. And you can't buy a car with a potato peeler. And I asked God for a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla because my uncle had said they're reliable and you're going to live alone and I can't drive out there to fix your car. So buy one of these. And we went around to dealerships to buy cars that I couldn't afford. And I remember seeing nothing that my uncle would be proud of me buying. And then I went down into the ministerial director's basement that I was staying in for those days, and I just said, okay, God, could I please have a Honda Civic EX 2012 or newer? Just make it so. And the next day, I don't know how, but I put my 4 duffel bags and potato peeler into 2012 Honda Civic EX and drove to Prince Edward Island. I was so excited on this drive because I was like, I'm going to get into Charlottetown. This is going to be my new place. It's going to be wonderful. And then I was watching the GPS as it was saying like how much time we had left to get to the place. And I was like, okay, 30 minutes left, but we're still in the woods. Okay, 15 minutes left, but where's the city, Jesus? And then I got to my hotel, and I was like, okay, maybe the problem is that my hotel is outside of the city. There's a mall. It's the mall for all of Charlottetown. I'm going to go there, and maybe I'll feel like home, you know? One mall for a whole province. I was expecting Yorkdale or West Edmonton, a little smaller. I punched it into my GPS, started driving, and couldn't find the mall until the next morning when I realized that that little building that I passed over there, that was the mall. But that night, when I couldn't find the mall, I started bawling, boo-hoo bawling, big tears, because I don't know where I am. I don't have anywhere to live. They don't even have a mall. So I went to the bulk barn because, fun fact, bulk barn and indigo smell the same no matter where you are in the country. So if you go to a bulk barn or an indigo, you can pretend that you are in Meadowvale, 10 minutes away from your mom's house. So I went to the bulk barn and I talked to this really nice lady who said, oh, you're just experiencing culture shock. It's okay, you know, when I moved to the big city, Charlottetown, you know, it was hard for me to see all of the lights and all of the people. And then I started crying more. Because, guys, I'm from Toronto. Like, I lived in Etobicoke for the first 10 years of my life, and then I moved to Mississauga, but would routinely take the train downtown to be around people. And here I was, in PEI, worried, scared, alone. So I called Romando. He didn't answer me. Yeah. What a friend. He was at Berman at the time. I guess he had other things to do. And then I called my friend, Richard Burkett. He answered me and told me that, Jordane, you haven't even met your church members yet. And remember, this is a job that you prayed for. So maybe just go to sleep and try again tomorrow. So I wiped my tears and went into my hotel, went to sleep, woke up the next day hoping to find an apartment that I can afford. I like to research, so I had been looking and looking and looking. And with my adult budget, there was only so much that I can afford. And I prayed again, and I asked God, could you just please give me that apartment that disappeared 2 weeks ago? Because it was perfect. And it was in my price range. And it's like 15 minutes away from the church. I can't do more than that. I'm perpetually late. Jesus, help me, please. So I go back onto Kijiji, and there's the apartment. 79 Ducks Landing, Unit 7. And I signed the lease. I didn't read it. I didn't know what it meant. I was just like, I can't afford anything else, so I guess if you're going to take my life, this is just what's going to happen. And I moved my 4 duffel bags, potato peeler, and I was able to park my car in my brand new driving spot. Brought all my stuff into my apartment, looked around and said, wow, I have nothing. Like literally nothing. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Walmart and we're gonna spend money. I spent the most money I had ever spent at Walmart up to that point. $400 entire dollars. I came back, I put all of my stuff away, and it was still empty. Like, I didn't even have internet. It was really sad. And I didn't know what to do. But I tried to be grateful because this was a job that I prayed for. This was an experience that I asked for. And God had promised that He would be good to me. It was a little bit embarrassing, but I was proud of my empty apartment. So when one of my church members came up to Charlottetown to take me on a visit, mind you, I didn't know how big the island was. And I was like, yeah, no, I can drive to the south end of the island to see somebody in a nursing home. And she's like, no, it's okay, I'll take you. So grateful that she did. I let her up to my apartment to show her how pretty it was and how proud I was of myself and how I had put bubble wrap on the windows to save on heat because I couldn't afford it. And she looked around and she's like, oh, it's empty. And I was like, yeah, but it's mine. And she smiled at me and I smiled at her and I thought she was just as proud of me as I was of myself. That was not the case. We went into her van, drove all over the island, did some wonderful visits, met some wonderful people, and I went back to my apartment with my 4 duffel bags of clothes, $400 worth of stuff from Walmart, and my potato peeler. On, I think, my second Sabbath there, I had met some really cool people. They were studying at Holland College. And I invited them over to my house. So I figured I need somewhere for them to sit. So I bought, fact check me, 4 entire bar stools. And I put them around my island. And my church member, who saw that I had nothing, decided to give me a chair to sit on. So I had 5 chairs. And with those 5 chairs and no tables, I hosted my first games night. Yep, and I was able to invite Stanisha Diligence to my games night. Yeah. I was able to make the food in my Pyrex containers that some people still haven't returned. It's fine. And we had fun. Didn't we have fun? We had so much fun with nothing. Nothing. And I'm not gonna lie, I was worried. How am I gonna pastor these people? Because church members everywhere, majority of you guys are great, wonderful, amazing. Some of you are stellar, the best people to ever walk the face of the earth. And a unique fraction of you require extra grace and prayer. And teach me how to be more like Jesus every day. And I had 1 or 2 of those experiences there. And I was scared and worried. And I had nothing. Nothing. God, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I just learned how to drive. I don't understand how insurance works. I don't understand adulthood. I am the youngest person in this congregation until Stanisha came. Then there was somebody younger than me. I am the youngest person in this congregation. I don't know how to counsel these people about their lives and being a widow or a widower. Like I have nothing but worry. And Philippians 4, verse 4, says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." Again, I say, rejoice. Verse 5, "Let your reasonableness be known to all, for the Lord is at hand." And I know 6 years later, it's kind of a cute story because I survived. But we don't talk about how loneliness impacts people and how the lack of friendship, the lack of touch being skin-starved, how that impacts people. And I was supposed to wake up every day and rejoice in the Lord, always. Rejoice in the Lord for being sent to a place that is completely different and completely opposite to anything I've ever experienced. Rejoice in the Lord. Yes, I have experienced some good things and some good gifts, but this apartment that he gave me is empty. And I'm so thankful for it, but there's nobody else who's alive in it. And some days I don't know if it's a sanctuary or a prison. Rejoice in the Lord, always. Yes, always. I shared with you a couple years ago, so you probably forgot now, that this word rejoice in the text is a etymological link between two different words. The words there are happy and grace. So, properly, it means to be happy for grace always. And grace is unmerited favor. Grace is getting something you did not deserve. So, that means even when I am hungry and alone with no internet in an apartment, sleeping on a blow-up mattress, broke, I can be happy that I've experienced grace. Because I've done nothing to deserve even a potato peeler. And yet, God has given me so much. It didn't look like much then, but it was so much. So, right now, Terrence, I want to invite you to spend 2 minutes in prayer. Specifically in this prayer, I don't want you to ask God for anything, and I don't want you to thank God for anything. I know it's Thanksgiving, but what I want you to do is just acknowledge the grace that you've already received. Just take a moment and do that now. it got a little bit darker. You know, because I'm an advocate, that I have ADHD and major depressive disorder. Here is how I found out. It was a Friday, not unlike yesterday. Maciel, can you help me? It was a Friday. Not unlike yesterday. And I had to preach on Sabbath, and there was probably a few other unexpected responsibilities that would be mine to bear. On top of this, I was a student doing my first semester of my master's program. Who decided to put me in a master's program while I was in my first year of ministry in a province that was completely unfamiliar to me? I don't know, but it was terrible. And I had an assignment due, and I didn't know if I could get it done. So I sat in front of my laptop that you gave me, and I stared at it, trying to get it done. But it felt like my brain wasn't working. And I was struggling to overcome an eating disorder, and felt in that moment of stress, because you guys know what the end of the semester is like. I either need to do this thing or drive myself into oncoming traffic. So I decided to get in my car and go home. But while I was in my car, the urge to just end it all, because I'm alone. Nobody really understands. Nobody really cares. Nobody gets it. You're a lazy and worthless person. That's why the assignments aren't done. If you were a good enough pastor, then your church would be growing. Nobody's gonna miss you. They'll be stressed for maybe like a Sabbath or two. But after that, they'll replace you and move on. Your family, who said they were gonna come visit you, they haven't made it out here yet. They probably don't care. The voices got so loud that I started to believe them. But I was saved by pastor guilt. I thought, if you are going to kill yourself, you cannot do it today, because the church will be in shambles, and that's your only responsibility. So just wait till Sunday. And if you still feel like it then, maybe let's go to the hospital. And Sabbath came and passed, and I felt empty, nothing, useless. And Sunday came, and I went to the hospital. And I was greeted by such a rude psychologist. But he believed me. He was the first person to believe me when I said there's something wrong with me. Everyone else, bless your hearts, told me, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're great. You're wonderful. Do you see you? You're amazing. But I didn't have the language to explain that there really was something wrong with me. And I had suffered for 25 years, not knowing, just trying. And I don't blame anybody that I had reached out to beforehand, because how would they know? How could they know? But I remember lying there in the emergency room and feeling grateful because finally someone heard me. Finally, there was something we could do about it. I didn't get a diagnosis that day, but I was on the road to recovery. Philippians 4, verse 6. Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. It was still terrible, but I had something to ask for. I could ask for time off. I could ask for a diagnosis. I could ask for help. And there is so much power, guys, so much power in an intentional request. Because everybody's like, hey, we're here to support you, but they don't know what you need. But I could say, can I have 4 weeks? Can I go home? Can I spend time with my mom? Do I need medication? There's so much power in an intentional request with people who don't know you deeply. Not the way you know yourself, and definitely not the way you know God. There is so much power in an intentional request with people who are limited and who are bound by their humanity. But can you imagine how much power there is in an intentional request made to God? like 2 days ago, I called Maciel, and I made a big request. I said, hey, can you preach in 2 weeks? And can I have $2,400? She said no. But there was so much power in asking. And what she said to me next was, I would love to see myself through your eyes, because I must be really big in your mind if you think that you could come and ask me for that and I could just do it. And you are really big in my mind. But as Tanisha comes forward, God is so big. And he is so capable. Yes. And I tell my story not for shock value or for sympathy or anything like that. I tell my story because I genuinely think that sometimes we don't believe it can get better. And I sit here today as a happy person. And I know that some of you are where I was in December 2018. But there is power in talking to God. One more story, then I'll let you sing. One more story, then I'll let you sing. Yeah. So I had fell down the stairs, just like rolled and tumbled down the stairs. And I told you this story before, but I'm going to tell you it again because I really need you to hear it this time. One of my beautiful church members, top tier, stellar person, Mila Trenchuk, she said, you have to go to the chiropractor. I said, no, I don't, I'm fine. She said, I can see that your shoulders are crooked. I said, they've always been that way, ha. She said, you definitely have to go. I said, no, I don't, I'm fine. She gave the chiropractor my number. So I went to the chiropractor. And I developed a really beautiful relationship with my chiropractor, and then she moved on with her life. She got married, moved to Calgary, all sorts of things, and left me in Red Deer with this new guy. And in my first appointment with him, I was so scared. My shoulders were just like this. I wouldn't let him access my neck to fix anything. And he looked at me and said, relax. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, no, relax. And I was like, yeah. And then he touched me this time and was like, relax. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I settled into the relaxation and let him adjust my neck. Because my life, because there's a lot of vital stuff in here, was in the hands of a man who was trained and capable to heal me. And because I wouldn't let him have access to it, he couldn't. The healing process wasn't fun or easy. But if you let your life, if you let God have access to your life, he can heal you. Your life is in the hands of somebody who is capable and able and qualified to heal you. So be anxious for nothing. Make an intentional request and put your life in God's hands. Sanisha is going to sing for you now. And while she does, I want you to practice what the theologians called supplication. It's literally word vomiting, pouring it out, being intentional about your requests to God. You can use your note app. You can just say it however you feel that it needs to be done. But God is big enough to handle your words. And God is big enough to answer your requests. So I invite you to let him in.